It's game time.
Let's talk QuickTime events. Now recently I had to play Resident Evil 4 for a review, and very briefly I touched on the fact that I'm not a fan of QuickTime events, and I figured I'd just sort of expand on that. I feel that QuickTime events were maybe only utilized properly for one game. That would be Shenmue. And they only really worked in that game because QuickTime events were built for Shenmue. And even then, it only used them a handful of times, and quite frankly, even then, it wasn't really all that fun. Now, for those of you who don't know what QuickTime events are, they're basically miniature compartmentalized cutscenes where a button prompt will appear on screen, and if the player doesn't hit the proper button on time, they get punished. They don't really work for two main reasons. First of all, they sort of break the flow of gameplay. If it's in a cutscene and it pops up and you're not expecting it, you'll have to redo the cutscene, or at least part of it. Or if it happens during actual gameplay, it tends to break the flow by having your character do a short animation, or help finish off the opponent. And that sorta doesn't work, because all the rest of the gameplay, your character isn't doing these small little animations. They're running around, they're dodging, it's just completely different, and it just looks kinda weird and stilted in comparison. My second biggest problem with QuickTime events are that they sort of break immersion. Now, as a game designer, you should always be striving to make players immersed in your content. However, QuickTime events break cutscenes. And what I mean by that is, players will be watching cutscenes. As a QuickTime event pops up on screen, they'll have to be paying attention to it, not the actual cutscene. And if they're constantly worrying about the next QuickTime event instead of being immersed in the content, trying to figure out what prompt they have to press and when, it just sort of takes you out of the moment. Now, I've heard the argument that QuickTime events make a game more cinematic. That description in and of itself is contradictory to the entire gaming medium. And the reason is this: video games are an interactive medium. By removing the interactivity from it, you're no longer playing a video game. You're watching a movie. And while I respect that they're trying to add interactivity to a cutscene, they could have easily done it with straight gameplay. I think that the one game that ever did QuickTime events right was Devil May Cry 3. And I know that sounds crazy, because there really weren't any in there. And that's my point. I would like to direct you to the first cutscene of Devil May Cry 3. Awesome cutscene, by the way. Dante knocks over a guy, hops onto him, starts riding on top of him like a surfboard, pulls out his pistols and just goes crazy. And if you're like me when I first saw that, you're probably thinking, that is awesome. I so wish I could do that. And you can. But not through a contextual mini cutscene where you have to press a specific button that pops up on screen. You knock the guy down, you hop on him, you pull out your pistols, you go to town. And that's why it does it well. It doesn't require to break the flow of gameplay just to make you feel like a badass. I see QuickTime events as sort of lazy game design, that they're utilized, at least in a lot of cases, especially in action games, to showcase a moment or an action by a player that really requires no additional programming for an input for the player. And that's the thing. If they just built it onto what players have already learned, added into an even deeper combo system, it would work much better without breaking the flow of gameplay. Now, I've also heard the argument that it would just take too much time and manpower to individually program all the different sort of combos that one could do with these QuickTime event moves. And I just have to sort of point out that any truly great game that is worth remembering and is well remembered by the people who love them dearly were designed with endless amounts of hard work, dedication, sweat, blood, tears. People poured their hearts and souls into it. instead of just trying to have it done by whatever due date. And I respect that games do have to be done by a certain point. I do, because I'm under such deadlines myself. But I think that's about it. There's a comment section below. Feel free to just tell me your thoughts on QuickTime events, because quite frankly I am interested in what other people think about this. And maybe I'll do another one of these if I can find a topic that I'd like to talk about. Anyway, peace out.